Let's talk now with former Ohio Governor, former presidential candidate, Master of Congress, John Kasich. It is good to see you, my friend.
It's good to be with you, Chris.
Now, I said at the top, in full disclosure, usually not a fan of this. We show the live shot. The motorcade is moving into the Capitol. We show the empty, seat in Congress till he comes. But this is really about us, and this is about insiders. I don't know how much it connects to the American experience, but tonight could be different. Biden has a tough task to reconnect with this country because the narrative has been taken from him. What do you see as the stakes?
Well, I think, first of all, Chris, he should come across, of course, as very energetic. And secondly, as it relates to the economy, he should talk about the things that have been accomplished lately. I mean, you have some of the lowest unemployment in, 50 years, which is just fantastic. And they're starting to get a grip on inflation. But I do believe that he needs to be honest with people and say, many of you are out there struggling. And here's what we're trying to do about it. This is what I'm doing with the Fed. This is what I'm trying to do to try to tame the issue of inflation, because that's what's really hurting you. But let's look at some of the things that got accomplished, because I think most people really don't know what he's done. It all got lost in the omnibus and all the activity at the end of the last session. I think he can do that, but he has to feel, Clinton said it best. He's got to feel people's pain, but also paint hope and a picture of what's to come. Chris, I will say to you, I think there's two issues that you touched on that I agree with. One of them is mental health. It is a huge issue in this country. Pediatric mental health, adult mental health. They passed a big package here at the end of the year that has many pieces to it. It's not the end. It's just a beginning, but people are waking up to it. Congress can, on a bipartisan basis, agree with that. You made one other observation that I thought was really spot on, and that's the issue of the cartels. And America has to take the cartels on, because they're not only trying to ship people across the border, but as you pointed out, shipping that death across the border and fentanyl and so many other drugs. There are some areas where I think that the Republicans and Democrats can come together if he can sort of touch all those bases. So I think it's important, and let's not get into name calling tonight. If he can kind of rise above it and paint his picture but not be offensive, maybe we got a chance to get a few things done. I think you can, because you have a growing number of moderate Republicans and many Democrats who said they've had enough with the extremes on both ends trying to run the place.
Well, they heard the country say that in the midterms, a message that you've been echoing for many years.
Yeah.
Of course, you're talking about moderates, and we're showing George Santos up there right now, who's like the poster child for how broken our politics is. I don't think Biden swings the big stick tonight. I think he's the piñata. And I don't think he has the eloquence to make the economic argument. Inflation is bad. It was worse.
Yeah.
It's a nuanced argument. It's hard to make, especially when people are in pain, and the Republicans aren't going to let him make that case effectively. My guess is he shies away from it, even though there is a case to be made. That semiconductor, that CHIP Act that he passed when they were making fun of him for not going to the border, but he was in the Southwest, that's going to change manufacturing in this country for about the next 10 to 15 years.
In Ohio especially.
In Ohio also, it's true. That was one of the big winners.
It's a big deal.
And the infrastructure bill is a big deal. Everybody's, gotten shovel-ready jobs and doing stuff that they need. But can he make the case? I think the only place he can make the case, and this is where I want your take, knit mental health and fentanyl, and you get back to the border in a position of strength. Right now, he can't touch the border. It's a loser for the Democrats. Way too much heart, not enough head in their positions down there. But fentanyl scares all of us, John. And mental health is a coefficient with addiction. That's how he could get back to the border and maybe get these moderate Republicans to have to say, listen, I got to fight fentanyl too. Mental health matters for us too. And I can get border stuff done. Let's see if we can package that. I think that's his best bet.
Yeah, I would tell you, Chris, that I think border security, which Republicans love, along with legitimate legal immigration reform, is something, I think there's a path on that. Now, you made a point, and I agree with this point, definitely. His speech tonight is really not to the Republicans or the Democrats in the room. It's to the country. And the country has to understand that legal immigration helps us have a stronger country. But at the same time, we need the border security for a variety of reasons to protect our own doorstep, while at the same time fighting the scourge of drugs. I don't think you can just solve the problem of drugs, Chris, without taking the cartel on directly.
You're right.
Because they're the ones that are, in that business. So I think there's some things that can work to his advantage.
Hey, thank you for watching. Please go to newsnationnow.com, newsnationnow.com, and you can find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button down below. Then you will get more of NewsNation's fact-driven coverage.